Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 7th and 8th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline Comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, Internet. It is the Silverline Show on Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim TK, and I'm joined, as always, by Quentin Bedwell.
Hello, everybody. Quentin J. Bedwell here.
Yes. And tonight we're going to be talking about telepathy and telekinesis and how comics have been demonstrating, invisible powers for years and how it works, how to make it work, how to make it not work, what looks weird, what looks good, what we like, and if we plan on using it in the future, or how we plan on showing that off, or how we have shown that off if we have already done so. We might be joined by some others later on. I believe we have a possible maybe on McKinsey, but she may not pop up. Hello, Mark. How are you doing today?
All right, Mark. Glad you can make it by.
Jose and Aaron could not make it tonight, so we're fine without them. Since we're talking about showing powers, I'll be relying a bit on Quentin here since he is the artist of the group. So for those of you who don't know, I am the writer and creator of Wolf Hunter and co-creator of Soul Ascendant, as well as the inbound content writer at Silverline. And I also do some editing work here and there. And Quentin, what are your credits you want to flex?
Well, I've done various comic book pages, sequential art, and covers. Just got done with a cover for Twilight Grim, which I cannot wait to, for everybody to see for the Kickstarter. Also, I worked on Trump's #3 for Silverline. Just, bits and bobbles here and there of everything. So also make games. So board games, stuff like that, card games.
Very cool. I guess I also mentioned that I do gaming adjacent content with Tabletop Collective as one of the feature producers there. Are any of the Silverline books connected / set in the same universe? There is a Silverline time. Some things are loosely adjacent. So it confirmed that Cat and Mouse
is in the same universe with Sniper and Rook.
Sniper and Rook with Switchblade.
Yep.
Mantis, Peter Mantis is also in the is in either the same or an alternate timeline of that. Wolf Hunter and Kalis. There's loose connections there that could be argued that they're in the same universe.
Yep.
And there's
we've been discussing a lot of other stuff that may kind of be a little hard to tie together, but trying to make, decide on those connections, how they could come about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some stuff that is alternate history, and then there's some stuff that is, stuff that's just really far out from each other. But we have really been talking a lot lately about, joining the universes in a real way. So we'll see what happens.
Yes. Yeah. Probably won't be anything like a battle world, but we might get something like a alternate universe battle royale.
Like Secret Wars.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Oh yeah. All right. Yes. Talking about telekinesis, telepathy, all that fun stuff. So obviously, you have kind of your big reference there being, Professor Xavier.
Yep. Before we get into that, why don't we go through some of the headliner telepathy users before we get into that, because that's pretty important too.
Mm-hmm.
What's some that you can think of off the top of your head?
Oh geez. Let's see there.
Well, we know.
I'm trying more than just X-Men in my head. There you go.
Any
Martian Manhunter.
He's at the top of the list, in my opinion.
Yes. Psylocke, Raven. There you go.
Emma Frost.
Let's see there.
Of course, Jean Grey.
Yes. Simon, spelled Psimon.
Legion.
Manchester Black from the DC universe.
I believe Cable has that as well too, right?
Cable, yes, he has telekinesis. However, his powers are so restricted because he is
because of his infection.
Yeah, he has to use Cable is an Omega level telekinetic, but he has to spend all of his energy containing this technographic virus. So the most he can use of this telekinesis is quick reactions, essentially.
Poor man.
Right. Maxwell Lord. What it'll be interesting one to get into.
There's a lot.
Technically, Aquaman also has telepathy, a specific type of telepathy. Gorilla Grodd.
Yep.
Yeah. And did I mention Martian Manhunter?
You did.
Yes. Okay.
Which I say is one of the absolute most powerful telepaths to me. I think I think that guy is OP all the way around.
Right.
I mean, he has basically got the strength and stamina and stability of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from his weakness to fire.
Yeah.
And then you add telepathy on top of that. I mean, holy moly, that guy is just a beast.
Right, and also shape-shifting and other
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a jack of all trades. He's like, every villain's nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And if he ever turned on the Justice League, and I'm sure maybe one day somebody will be smart enough to, in the DC multiverse, have John Jones,
right,
break bad.
That'd be a fun arc. That'd be
fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know how they would be able to deal with him.
Right.
I have no idea. And that's probably why nobody's done it, is because,
Yeah. You probably have to do something like either like Flashpoint or like Injustice, where essentially Batman has to go to ground for a long time to develop a plan, and he has to consult everyone else at that point. So it's just going to be a long series of them running and constantly trying to reformulate their plans.
Well, it's still tough because, even with him going underground, I mean, I don't know exactly how John Jones' power works, but I know that he can do telepathy. He can communicate to people from the moon
Yeah.
to the earth.
Well, his little things, he's supposed to be able to be one of the best trackers of his people. So,
Yeah.
yeah, his little thing, it would be, you'd have, Batman trying to out detective the ultimate bounty hunter.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, as far as how it's depicted in comics, it's a lot the same, depending on what kind of action that they're doing.
Yeah. I think depending on the action they want to portray, the time that comic was printed, and the artist working on that, because there was the time where, after Kirby and Lee worked on X-Men and League and Justice League, and then for there's like a good 3 years where everyone essentially borrowed their depiction of powers. He's like, all right, this worked so well, we're just gonna do these effects the same way for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, let's you know what? Let me share my screen and I'll pull up some of the ways that comics. Let's see. I'll pull up some of the ways that comics do depict the pictures. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Share. Select window. Block your screen. If I can. Maybe you'll have to do this because it's not letting me share.
Sure.
Share screen. Your browser has blocked your screen. Click the screen icon in your address bar to allow access, then reload the page. Yeah, maybe you'll want to do it.
Sure. Let's see. Oh, cool. Oh my! I didn't think of Quentin Quire and Namor, but they're both pretty important characters. His name with Namor going to be in the new Black Panther, finally getting the first mutant and the King of Atlantis, and Quentin Quire being the de facto leader of X-Force for a little bit there. Let's go. I'm gonna go through the age and see if we can pull up a panel.
There we go. I actually can do it now, I think. Share screen. And I will do screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. There we go. Allow. Now I'm going to go here. I was already kind of looking this up a little bit. But right here we've got a picture of, if you can see it, Jean Grey. You notice how a lot of times when they depict them doing something, they actually point to their head.
Yes.
Either like this, or like this, or like this, or here's one right here. See, he's touching his head. And really, if in real life you had a person who used telepathy,
that's the equivalent of
they'd
touching
just be
the earpiece.
standing there. They'd just be sitting there.
Yeah, touching your head to be the equivalent of the Secret Service agent touching their earpiece, immediate giveaway.
Right.
Yeah.
And they do that. Of course, we know they do that in movies just to let you know that they're talking on their headpiece. But if in reality, they're just standing there and having information go in and out. Via their headset. But for us, the reader or watcher, we have to see something happening. Like here is Psylocke here. And she's got lights, and this is another way that they do it. They have these little light shows and stuff.
Yeah, and have you seen any of the triplets, the bees in X-Men actually touch their heads? Because I believe with them, they have not had them touch their heads at any point.
Oh, are you talking about the Emma Frost's little group? Her little clones. I think they're clones, aren't they?
I believe they're a set of triplets.
Okay.
But because I believe that they're supposed to be so. So the one that I do know about why the Xavier lineage of telepaths touch her head. Also, Legion, one of the best characters ever written, in my opinion. But the obviously it's created as like a visual cue for primarily, that's the reason it's created as a visual cue for the reader to know what's happening. But then they explain it in the lore with the Thoreau line saying when he's teaching Gene how to do it. They say, well, your telepathy is always on, so you're always hearing everyone's voices all the time, but it's the same thing. I'm doing like a mind muscle activation. By touching your head and pointing forward, you can focus where the energy is going as opposed to just going outwards the whole time.
Right. Yeah, kind of like this picture that I was on earlier right here, where he's touching his head and he's holding his hand out.
Yes.
And there was one. This is one that I think is hilarious.
Oh
right
yeah,
here.
with him and
Because,
yeah.
This is how it would actually be.
Yes.
Right here. Their heart rates are going through the roof. Skin temperature and brain activity likewise. What is this?
Yep.
They're fighting telepathically. I've been in enough such skirmishes to know.
I always love just the show offs with the Exodus, where it's like Exodus could easily single-handedly like mop the X-Men. He's just so reluctant to. So just
what would how cool of a thing would that be? Like when
when
you and I show up at Daytona Beach Comic-Con and we see each other and we just kind of
right, it's the stare off.
Yeah,
exactly. I believe they actually did something similar during the in part of the New Kakora storylines where Exodus, Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse, and Charles Xavier are all on the Krakoan Council.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe they had a moment where they had a telepathic spar where they're all just sitting at their desks staring at each other, and Marvel girls say off the sides like, "Oh, this is ridiculous." You guys knock it off.
This is the cartoon.
The classic,
version.
yes, yeah. I believe that's one of the few instances where where an artist has decided to depict telepathic energy as being anything other than purple or pink. Was doing it either as red or white in the cartoon.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like electricity, right? Like if you were in real life, you don't actually see electricity. You just see people like shaking and frying,
Right. And if you see the shock, it's the molecules frying, not the actual jump of energy.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think the thing just to the left. They have them all. The Council.
They have them all shown here. They've got him glowing here. They've got the circle, the halo type thing here. They've got the brain on fire, atomic bomb.
Yes.
And they've got the little waves. Whoom, whoom, whoom.
All right.
Yeah, I can just hear that.
I definitely got the waves, and I definitely it has a special place in my heart because growing up watching the X-Men cartoon.
Definitely,
definitely, yeah. But I think it like the little waves are. I think it's honestly one of the weakest ways to show telepathy because it's distracting and it doesn't actually illustrate the thing happening.
To me, it kind of looks like he's emitting Wi-Fi or something.
Exactly, yeah. I like the visual representation, actually, that first picture he showed at the very top where it was 92 Jean Grey with the fractals going out of her mind.
Yeah.
That whole thing. Also, how they also do legions a lot. I think that's a really powerful way of showing that because you get the fun energy effects because everyone likes energy effects. But you're seeing all the images that she's either planting or pulling from people's minds. They're actually seeing what the telepathy is doing in that moment.
Yeah.
The expressions on Professor X's face were the best in the cartoon. Every episode was
oh my goodness.
Oh no,
it's hilarious. Look at this guy. Man, he's throwing out some telepathy right there, boy. Look at him.
That's back when every issue of a comic came with a tab of LSD.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Look at these little eyeballs around. I love this. This is so creative.
I love that.
Oh my goodness. Psych out. I wonder why I've never seen this character before.
Probably because of the eyes.
Yeah, that's the best part.
At some point, they're like, some artist says, "No, I'm not doing that." And the character.
Oh man, look at that guy.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I want to know that at what point in the 80s, who made the decision that purple was the universal color of telepathy?
Yeah. Yep. And that's just like there's rules for art as
Yeah.
well, where you remember these
Oh,
guys,
wow.
their heads
Yeah.
would like throb, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
in and out. That was crazy.
That's actually,
Yeah, but like green is supposed. Anytime you have like green light, it's supposed to be
strife.
like
Yeah.
necrotic and all that stuff.
hmm
Also, by the way, supposedly he has some not necessarily telepathic abilities, but he has a lot of hard defenses against him somehow.
Yeah, I believe that because because the Titans were offshoots of the Eternals had a form of natural telepathy, but instead the Titans just inherited a form of telepathic defense.
Yeah.
That's also an OG illustration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah. I think a little bit up there. One of my favorite characters, just in terms of writing, but also the way his powers are demonstrated, is Quentin Quire, aka Kid Phoenix, because he's supposed to be prophesied to be the kid who eventually ends up taming the Phoenix Force in the future. But he's an Omega level telepath, but he chooses to portray that by creating like guns out of telekinetic energy. They just fully functional firearms. I think that's a really weird way of taking on, the joke is, the Tenacious D track, shooting the cow from 30 miles away with mine bullets.
Yes.
Yes. But creating an actual gun to fire mine bullets.
A little crazy.
What part is Quentin find the hardest to express when he is drawing? Yeah, would you say that? I don't know if you had to tackle telepathy yet or telekinesis, but
I haven't actually had to do telepathy yet. Man, I'm not really sure, because the thing is you have to sit and just there's a lot of stuff that you have to sit and figure out sometimes. How to depict, because the thing about comics is people always talk about the amount of exaggeration. In comics, real people don't look like that, or people don't move like that, they don't stand like that. In comics, you have to do those things because it's a still medium, and a lot of it is you have to catch the eyes. So you have to come up with something good. You have to come up with something that's eye-catching. If a hero is going to punch, well, he can't just jab. He's got to be throwing his whole body into it, or else it just doesn't sell. Because when people are looking at it, they have to feel the action, and the only way to do that is really, really putting a character into it. I don't really know the answer to that question, because I've there's been so many things I've had to draw where I just had to come up with stuff. And I will always say probably the most challenging thing for me, even to date, is smoke and fire. And I know that's a rudimentary thing, but honestly, my smoke and fire is constantly evolving. Which is strange, but a lot of people get locked up on anatomy. Anatomy is not a problem for me. I've just done it for so long now. It's not a real issue.
I think we got some good smoke and fire. And
yep.
Speaking,
that worked out good.
Yeah, speaking of things that were like, I don't know how it was for you to draw Willard, but Willard is actually a hard character for me to write because he doesn't have powers as much as he's just naturally. He before it was invented, he practices forensic psychology. Just he's really good at deducing people based off of micro expressions and patterns. So my joke is that his pattern is he always rolls a 20 on his insight checks.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
his whole thing is when he once he realizes that something doesn't match the pattern, you know, just writing that in a caption is boring. I allude to it an extent to just so there is something to keep people grounded. But if I were to do it word for word what he just discovered, it'd be like the reader would have the story be told at them as opposed for them being able to read the story themselves and engage with it.
Yeah.
So his things, it just the immediate cut to panel of him doing an expression change, which, you know, if a person were to actually do that in real life, the person they're talking to would immediately know what's up, or they think they're a giant dick.
Yeah. That's another challenge, you know, like your thing is powerless type world. That is challenging because, you know, if you have to be able to exaggerate it even in the realistic kind of world too.
Right. Yeah.
And Mark Spears says, do you like using action lines? I do like using action lines. Anything to, you know, add some motion, some energy, because again, you know, I mean, it's a still medium. If people were watching animation or a movie, they would get that impact. But with comics, you gotta exaggerate. You gotta make things bigger that shouldn't be bigger sometimes, and you know, you got to put people in poses they wouldn't normally be in. You got to take shots from angles that you know seem to be extreme, but you know you got to remember even the angle of your shot makes a difference, because that can tell somebody whether it's if you're looking down on a character and they're small, then it's taking their power away. If you're looking up at them, like Galactus, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Straight as a board, never moves Galactus, you know why he never does any Spider-Man poses? Because he's huge, and the artist has to show that he's huge so he doesn't move. If you ever notice in comics, he's always the same kind of poses. It's like he's stiff, he's like a brick. And that's because that's one way to show people that, you know, you couldn't do that with just any. And like Spider-Man, he's agile. So you have to have him, you know, doing all kinds of crazy, you know, stuff with his limbs and stuff. You got to show that he's agile.
Yeah.
You know, when he's Peter Parker, he's not that agile, is he? He doesn't have all that. He's more of a straight guy. But yeah.
Definitely. And, you know, doing moments where you're doing something like a more mental power, like, you know, even with like telepathy or even just like insight or anything like that, the second it hits, it needs to hit, like the second their power starts working, it needs to work visually. Otherwise, because, you know, you can do something like very tricky where if you do it well, where, you know, if it's just straight telepathy or whatever, you can go like without a page without them referencing it, and then in the next page over, they talking to their confidant or something or whatever, and it's like, and they explain like, well, what just happened? And it's like, well, I read his mind and I got X, Y, and Z. But at some point, there needs to be a quick point where we know that something has happened and changed, because it's an invisible power, and if it's not demonstrated visually, it needs to be communicated quickly.
Yeah, and also I'd like to say that it's kind of like cooking. You know, sometimes you got to add some seasoning. You got to add some salt and pepper. If you're making rice by itself, I'm sorry if anybody that is watching this in the future or now loves rice. Rice is bland. Unless you have flavored rice, or until you put some salt and pepper on it. So if I'm doing somebody that's using telepathy and I just do this, then that's bland. It's monotonous. It's boring. But if I do them like this, you know, you see how that changes. You know, they're putting their whole, you know, mind
body into it.
Yeah, you got to make it dynamic. You can't just have them.
Yeah. Well, even that one photo showed of Xavier facing off with Exodus. Like, even though they weren't, you know, engaged, they're still in power poses where they're like doing the whole like 3/4 turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're not just standing there looking at each other.
Yeah. Also, the use of lighting really plays into a good demonstration scene where if you wanted to show something is happening that, you know, we're seeing as a reader, but they might see as a character, the whole like dropping everything into black and just having one or two people highlighted or what have you. And it can go a long way.
Yeah, and the thing is too, when you're doing panel work or you're doing something that is not very interesting, you try to pull out every trick you can to take that monotonous, to add the salt and pepper. You try to pull out every trick that you can to make it go from just being plain to something, and that's one of the tricks too, is going a little extra on the rendering, a little extra on the lighting. If you're
strong use of sepia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anything extra like that. So you said you have not yet had to tackle telepathy. The closest I've gotten is writing a very insightful character who's just reading people strongly. But if you were to tackle something like telepathy, do you have any have you had any plans that you've been like boiling in the back of your head, like, oh, if I was going to draw like my dream telepathic character, this is how I showcase everything they do, or anything like that? Because I just reading comics,
I probably put their face really far forward. I do a lot of side views just to do something different. Because normally, whenever you see it, that you always see, like we were seeing on the thing, you usually see them from the front.
Yeah,
and they're doing this or I would like to do them from the side. It's so funny. It reminds me, my daughter's she's really gotten into Ninja Turtles, and I introduced them to her way long time ago, but she didn't even pay any attention. But now, like, she's just gone crazy for them. And on the cartoon, they go a little extra with the animation of the movements and stuff. And so, like, these turtles, I don't have a figure right here close, but these turtles run like this with their head way far forward. So she thinks that she can run faster if she does her. And I keep telling her, girl, you're gonna knock every tooth out of your mouth if you trip, because all your arms are not gonna be able to catch you because they're so far behind you. But anyway, rabbit trail there. But
I mean, that's the whole thing with our generations. We always had the kids doing the Naruto run.
That's what they do on the turtles. That's what they do, and that's what she mimics. It's hilarious. She runs through the house just like this. This is the way ninjas run. Like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't hire those ninjas.
No.
She thinks she can run faster like that. But yeah, you gotta, even as you can tell, I collect figures. Whenever I pose the figures, I don't just stand them unless they have that arched back. Right. And, they're really, even with, again, still medium, action figure photography or action figure posing, even for yourself for display, you have to go overboard. You have to add salt and pepper. You have to really push those poses, Yeah. So.
I think in terms of writing Sid characters or universe like that, I've always been a fan of melding technology with powers or melding technology with magic. Always like the idea of hex tech stuff, like I have guns that use magic bullets or what have you. So I always liked. I think that's also another reason why Cable's always stood out to me, is he's a mix of strong telepath and a weapons mastery with a ton of technology. But let's see if I can get this to focus on the camera. I haven't painted him yet, but just the way like his telekinetic shield honeycombs, it's digital panels. Yeah. I always like the idea of writing characters that can mix, like what Inquire does, where his or his telepathy creates weapons and the technology for him. But maybe doing something where I always like the idea of mixing more than one power base together.
I would hope that if I had to do a telepathic character, that that the writer would allow me the leeway to do it in a way, because that can make a huge difference. Because there's a lot of decisions that artistically I can make in the translation, but if the writer, he or she, has written down there how they want it done, then that's how it gets done. you had to figure out a way to make it work. That's something
Yes.
that, if I were working on something, unless it was an established character, I'd just go
Mhm.
back to, whatever materials that I had on hand. But like I would have to get with the writer and I would have to see, okay, we'd have to talk about it. We'd have to talk about it, maybe go through some
Mhm.
concept art and stuff. But what I would like to do is do stuff that hasn't been done. And I don't really like rays
Mm.
uh shooting out. Now I don't see how you could get out of it in some situations, but I would
Right.
like not to do rays because sometimes those things, like if you look at some of that old Jean Grey stuff,
Mhm.
or some of the stuff we were looking at on the Google,
Yeah.
um, it looks like she's shooting lasers from her head, you
Yeah.
know, which, I know better than that. You know better
Mm.
than that. You're familiar with the character, but somebody who's
Yes.
just coming in, they have no idea. Look, this chick shoots lasers out of her
Mhm.
forehead, you know.
Yeah. I always liked how the show Psylocke's direct attack better than Ginge Gingerton because Psylocke has that, she has the butterfly on her head, and then whoever she's attacking, they get a butterfly around their eyes as well, and then they start like falling over or whatever. So it's
Yeah.
just that it's still a visual representation, but it's not a laser beam. It's just that there's a point of connection there that she's creating mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, and I think also as a writer, this is good advice to take generally. Obviously, writing Wolf Hunter, that is a little hard because we're stuck in 1940s England. There are some things that
Yeah.
are they are the way they are. It's like it's the BBC. I don't know where else we can go with that. But describing Willard or the actions he's taking, and hopefully you got the same idea. It's like I was very loose. Like this is the happy character is. This is where this is all grounded, but how you choose to represent it, what he is and what he's doing, that's up to you. So, I mean, you made him look very Jack Reachery, which was very dope. But uh, happening more so than my next book is I'm very loose with how everything is set. Where Soul Senate being Greek god or Roman gods in space. So I explained like this is Invictus. He is a champion of the sun. So everything is like solar flame based, and he has and he looks like a Roman legionary in sci-fi armor. And
Yeah.
so the artist can then say, okay, what's my sci-fi armor look like, and what are my sunfires with? So we agreed upon he's using like a sun spear, and he has like this super fun scalloped black and red armor type stuff, but very loose with how description, because over he wants to create that's his choice. Yeah, got a question here. Would Quentin ever do a book without a writer, or do the pages and then bring someone in just to do dialogue? And Tim, would you ever do the last of something you wrote for an artist to redo? Okay.
I have indeed considered that because, as I said at the top of the show, I have a board game, and the board game is it's got the world is built. It's got kind of the laws and rules that are active in the world through the gameplay, and it is ripe to make a story for. And I have actually, asked a writer friend before. Of course, they're super busy, and I understand that because I am too, or else I'd do it myself. But I've actually, said to a guy, look, the world's already built. I mean, you can make whatever characters that you want to focus on. This is the way things work. This is the way magic works. This is where it comes from. This is what they do. Everything's laid out, and all they'd have to do is come up with stories to put into that world. And I was totally okay with somebody coming along and writing a story that takes place in that world. But a lot of times, when it comes to something like that, and I'm the same way. I like to world build my own, and I like to, so I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it at all.
No.
I like to write stories. I love to.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, I think that's half the reason, half of the excitement that I get out of drawing is because when I'm drawing, I am thinking about stuff that I don't even get on the written page. Like whenever I was drawing these hordes in Trump's book 3, I had to make so many different characters in each one of those panels. As I was doing each one of them, I was kind of going over in my mind, well, he's got this shoulder pad over here and it's got dings in it from this thing that happened, kind of like it was almost a little bit like Tolkien, with Lord of the Rings, how he has a bio on every single, side character and has their relationship to, through 6 other people back to other characters. And, that's kind of what I do whenever I draw. I enjoy doing that.
Yeah. Definitely. And as far as doing that, I haven't had to, but it, if asked to, I have no problem doing like thumbnails or just doing like a quick panel layout. It's kind of going through like, labeling them and doing Stuckman sketches of the blocking. But most of the time I accept most of the changes my artist suggests because they know what's going to be more visually compelling. I know as a writer who's been writing for a while, I'm confident that I am, skilled and know how to deliver dialogue and how to deliver plot and pacing, but I'm not an artist. So if they think like, well, if I changed putting the gun, in front of his chest as opposed to putting in his pocket or doing what have you, it's going to look better. It's going to sell more. I take that. The only time I've actually issued a few corrections is this if it's small factual details or small character details, like saying like, no, this character shouldn't have a scar here because it doesn't fit the storytelling, or saying, well, actually it's nighttime as opposed to daytime. With we nearly had an issue with the Christmas special of Wolf Hunter where there was all day box. It was all day in the skybox. And like, wait, no, it's a midnight mass. It's it needs to be night. It needs to be at least 10 p.m. Would either of you consider doing a no dialogue book like Marvel did those years ago with Enough Said? I own several of the Enough Said books, and I'd love to do something like that. I think silent storytelling is...
I am not familiar with those, but I am familiar with Silent Interlude, G.I. Joe number 21.
Yeah.
Snake Eyes.
Yeah. I can't remember when the first time it was, but I believe they did another one in...
I loved it.
Before I believe Marvel did a run with every mainline got Enough Said issue in the transition from Bronze to Marvel Now. Now we're in modern Marvel, and is the Marvel Now era, which was I think it started like in 2013 and went on to 2021.
Yeah, and I'd like to throw in right there that I'm not opposed to it because I do it every single time I do a panel because I don't know what the dialogue exactly is going to be.
Right.
There are some people who write out scripts and give to the artist, and they may have the, the word bubbles in there, the captions or whatever, but the ones that I've gotten do not. They tell me what's going on and what they want being done, and I have to make it where a reader could understand what's going on without that. Because that's the trick, is being able to do the panels in such a way that if somebody was not reading them, they would be able to look from panel to panel and know what was transpiring, what's going on. That's sequential art, for them to follow along with. So every time I do panels, it's without dialogue. So it's really neither here nor there to me. I would love to do it. It seems like a good, easy, cheap way to not hire a letterer.
Exactly. I like it because it's they did one with the one that I have like that's on top of my stack of my Enough Said is one with Banshee and Kingpin. And it was really interesting that they chose to do that with a Banshee comic, and that the only lettering comes in at the end when Banshee screams and kills Kingpin. But I think it'd be, I love any sort of silent medium. I am a full scripter always. I like to my head is stuck up my butt, and I like to think that I write cerebral books. But I like having everyone on the same page from the start to the end. So if I mention something and that seems like it could be a throwaway in a panel description, but then it gets mentioned in dialogue and comes back later, everyone knows like, no, this is important. It's not just a throwaway item. This is Chekhov's gun or whatever. But doing something where it is, I think it'd be a fun experiment or like a good way to like stretch your writing skills is to create a story that is compelling without using any dialogue, just all action essentially.
Yeah, in the end, I think it's fun every now and then. It's a good gimmick. I mean, it's pretty fun. I wouldn't want to see all my comics that way, of course, but I mean, nobody's saying that at all.
Doing a full run of that would be I think tiring for everyone involved.
Yeah. Be a lot of talking going on between the artist and the writer for sure.
Yes. I think if you're doing like, we think it'd be kind of fun to do like a Silverline annual or something like that, where we had enough said, or kind of the same style, like silent versions of like micro versions of our comics. Like everyone gets a 5-pager that's completely silent to expand the universe in some way.
I think it's really cool when you can work in any kind of gimmick, as long as it's not the same one over and over. I mean, I love these. This is the age right now that we're in of nostalgia. I mean, if you go into case in point, if you go into a Walmart right now or a Target or wherever, it's like you're stepping into 1986 when you look at the toy shelves, because like there's He-Man, there's G.I. Joe, there's DC and Marvel. This is really and a lot of the stuff is retro type stuff. It's like it's really crazy seeing all this stuff come back and be on pegs again. Same way, with these homage covers.
Yeah,
I love those. I absolutely love them. I look at Stephen Butler's homage covers. Matter of fact, Brian Pulido just got him to do a whole line for Lady Death of homage covers, homage stuff where like Lady Death is Captain America, but it's not Captain America. It's like Captain Death. And then there's like, it was really cool the way it was all done, because it all looks like a book that you would have picked up in 1986 or, 1990.
Yeah.
And, but it's not, it's current. It's cool.
And some of us just spent $100 on a GameCube game that came out in 2005 over the weekend. So,
Yep.
Hey,
those games are still, they hold up though right now anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely they're to stay within guidelines. Everyone in that group was above the legal age, and we live in the state of Oregon, so I'll leave it at that. Yeah. But even then, the game was all those games still had solid mechanics. I mean, it's just like the one. Really picking the cream of the crop, being so far removed from it. But we played Time Splitters, Soul Calibur 2.
Oh wow!
Mortal Kombat Dark Alliance.
I played all those. Yeah,
and,
that's been years ago. Holy moly!
Super Mario Golf.
What I loved about Time Splitters is that was the first game that I remember that you could actually build your own. And I thought that was the coolest thing, that you could build your own PvP maps. Yes. Man, that was so awesome. Yeah, you could put guns in different places, and wow. Well, you know what? I scratched that because Doom.
Doom, yes.
But it was not nearly the way Time Splitters was very, very intuitive and easy to do. Doom, on the other hand, you had to have an extra program to be able to parse the code and
yeah.
I mean, you'd have doors way up in ceilings and stuff if you didn't do it right. I did it, and I built a level, but it was it had some quirks, but I made it too hard to get through by the time I was done. All the hours I put into it, and
I think Time Splitters 2 definitely has like one of the most powerful ones, especially even now comparatively. It's still like there's a ton of tools that you have access to in the map builder. I think the only ones that, I mean, even Quake up until Arena, you had to have like some coding knowledge or to work around with. Like Unreal Tournament was the only one where like the map building community like exploded as much as the Time Splitters back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great game.
Yeah. Great games.
Soul Calibur 2 is good too.
Yeah. So I guess you can use this transition to wrap up here. So comparing how we'll do this, and we'll do another question right after this. But telepathy as a concept is something that's like I guess it's been in the zeitgeist for forever. So it exists in some form in every media. You know, even beyond just like adaptations of comic books into film, TV, but even games, movies, and TV shows that are unrelated to the comics have some might have some form of telepathy, and they're all showcased in some different way. But I can't think of anyone that's really like jumped out to me as much as it has in comics. So I don't know if it's the same way for you. If there's like some version where you have like a different. Because for me, my definitive form of telepathy is still just like the purple energy sparking out from the character and the touching their head. But I don't know if there's anything that's like it has spoken to you as much from other forms of media as telepathy goes, or if you always picture that comic representation of it.
I would definitely, if it was a new character, I would definitely try to come up with some way to do it different. But the thing is, honestly, at this point, it's hard to do anything that hasn't been done. Mm-hmm. And not only that, you have to stay within the parameters of because it's already been done, what they're going to understand. Yeah. When people see it, hey, they're using their brain to, smack that guy in the face. You got to figure out a way to do that in a way that they can tell what's going on. I would definitely try to do it different, but it's kind of hard to do anything different nowadays. That's kind of why you have the gimmicks and stuff to push stuff along, and always have to have a good, fresh story, good, fresh art. Yeah,
it's the same thing where, speaking of games, which kind of feel like it applies here, where it's the concept of consumer literacy. It's the reason why like every shooter or every platformer has the same basic control scheme, is because once one person picks it up in one thing,
established,
it's easy to translate into something else. You always want to innovate on that and create a new twist on it. Mm-hmm. But once that ground line is set, it almost benefits you more to get someone right in on the ground level, because also it removes your footwork. So you don't need to have, if you have in your first issue someone touching their head or doing something, or you see purple energy coming like in some way, the readers will be like, oh, they're psychic, without you needing to explain that necessarily.
Yeah, if something's established like that, it's just what you were just talking. Whenever I've played video games before and moving from one game to the next, when they try to change too much, it just, it's so hard, because I find myself pressing A when I should be pressing B, because on the other system, B is where A is. And, and I'm talking about the Switch here, as opposed to the the PS4 and the Xbox. It's they've got it switched around, and Nintendo did that I guess just to be different. I don't know. I'm sure there's some reasoning behind it.
Right.
But either way, whenever I go from the Switch to Xbox, I'm always pressing the back button.
Right.
Because each time it's the back button that's on PS3 it's like circle, or PS4 it's circle, and on Xbox I can't remember which that one is, but anyway, it's all switched around. I hate that.
Yeah.
There was a Star Wars game called Republic Commandos. I don't know if you remember. I loved that game, but it took me a little while to get used to that game, because it had a few dynamics that were just so different than any other game that I'd played. And not to say that I don't want difference in the games. Dark Souls is a different game, but sometimes it can be a little, take a little bit of the immersion out,
Yeah. Well, that's one of the issues, like, playing game, like, my first console growing up that I really got into was PlayStation 1, and Metal Gear Solid and a bunch of Japanese developed shooters had your shooting button on the square button.
Yeah.
And then going to Xbox and playing Halo and having to like go down to the trigger as opposed to pressing what would be
And
X.
the jump button being what? Y?
Yeah.
The top button, like whereas normally it's the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, you jump, shoot. Yeah, it's kind of tough to go from Call of Duty to Halo. That's one of those things that there's just a couple buttons that are a little strange. I remember Red Faction, a very underrated game. Even the first one and the second one was very underrated. I could not get that game at first because I didn't find change the controller layout stuff at first. So we actually learned to play it with inverse X and Y.
Oh, I hate
oh my goodness, it was such a good game, but it was so hard to do.
Yes.
Yeah, I do too, Mark. Halo and COD, they're my favorite. I don't care what people say about them. You know,
still Halo. The new one is a bit disappointing with the lack of multiplayer support as of yet, but it's still one of my favorite franchises.
They have to bring it in. They have to. I just have to feel. I just feel like they're gonna do it at some point.
I think Forge is supposed to come later this year, but it's I'm hoping it's not too little too late, and the community is willing to come back for it.
I think they will, but a lot of times, sometimes they lose people when they do stuff like that. These companies, man, they're smart. They do things. A lot of times they do stuff on purpose. Now, some things they just try to push too fast out to make a buck and not pay people.
Yeah.
But sometimes they do things on purpose. Right now, we're dealing with something I just recently found out. See, is whenever they put out He-Man Origins over here, the first version of He-Man, if you saw him in the store, he had this real weird looking face. It was retro, the body and the weapons, even the packaging looked like it was straight out of 82, but his face was all weird looking, and everybody was thinking they just didn't get the face right. Well, after a while, they eventually released another He-Man that had the old head, or what kind of looks like the old head enough anyway.
Yeah.
So then they started releasing that, and then they said, "Oh, we're listening to you now," and they brought it out. So now that whenever you buy a He-Man Origins He-Man, it is like the classic face. But come to find out, the 2-pack that started the whole Origins line, it came with that head. So they had this going the whole time. We're going to put these little ones out, and we're going to make people come up and rebuy them eventually down the road whenever, sales are going down or whatever. We're going to make people rebuy them. And that's what they did with Skeletor. That's what they did with He-Man. They do that stuff. These companies, they know. What they're doing a lot of times.
And Roland Mand also knows.
What? The man who knows. The shadow knows.
What's going on, fellas?
Not much. We're just talking about, we were talking about telepathy, and then we got into how it was showcased and the concept of...
Yep.
Yeah. And then
you are right, Mark. They had that head. They had the right head the first go around on Faker.
Yes. And the concept of, consumer literacy, the idea of if now it's been so established that if you deviate too far from it, you're going to need some groundwork to reestablish, no, this character is telepathic. They just showcase it differently than everyone else you've seen in media.
Yeah.
It's all about the firing bullets out of their forehead.
Yeah. It's all about the visual in comics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and sometimes that's not even always clear.
Yeah.
Particularly if you try to do something not like Professor X or Jean Grey, right?
Right, yeah. That's the whole thing, my cat sister died almost.
Live right here.
Yes. The whole thing of there was some confusion on the Reddit with when Quentin Quire took over X-Force, because people are like, I don't get it. He creates guns. That's his power. Well, no, he's a telekinetic. He just has a thing for guns.
Right. Yeah.
And
he wants to shoot. Who doesn't want to shoot a gun?
Yeah. So I think it's why for a while they had to make all his guns in that, that purple energy that like this is brain color. Purple is the brain color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing they used to do too, I'm thinking about like the really old, kind of the classic X-Men, is when Xavier would communicate with them, the bubbles, they were thought bubbles, but they were lettered differently.
Yes.
Right. But you had the visual of him, Xavier doing things like this as well, with the thought bubble. And then you would have one of the characters say something to the effect of, maybe to one of the other characters, Xavier is speaking, sending us a telepathic message, right?
Yeah.
But that's what and of course, Tim, you probably remember this from class. A lot of times, people call it, well, that's telling. Well, maybe, but there are times you got to do that so that your reader
you have to
understands. Yeah,
right.
Me and the three of us, we get it, right? I know what he's doing. You don't have to say Xavier sent a telepathic message, but at some point in time, that's the first book,
right,
that somebody's read, and how they're going to know,
right?
That's
I think I was talking earlier about writing Willard, who's a character whose primary power is just being insightful. He always rolls a 20 on his insight rolls. But it's like I don't necessarily want to every time explain what's happening. Like I want to have like that quick facial reaction be the showcase of like, oh, he's detected something as a lie, but then use the captions as a way to guide the reader's hand there, as opposed to
yeah.
You got to use those tricks, though. That's why I thought it was funny when I watched this latest Top Gun, and they did the whole thing, where they gather all the people up and they have the briefing.
Yes.
I mean they used to do that in every war movie, that so that the audience would know what was going to happen and what they were trying to do. And the only way to do that is info dump them in a briefing room. Just right along with everybody else. And sometimes, they would do it a little bit different, change it up some. But it was so funny to see that in Top Gun, because I hadn't seen it in years because they stopped doing it, but it was kind of refreshing, even though, it was a little tired by the time they stopped doing it way back in the day. But the old briefing room maneuver, eh?
Yeah.
Yes.
But too, that's why
they sure did. New Hope did it as well. Yep.
Yes. I think also establishing Mon Mothma, but I think even doing those like visual tells or saying those primaries allows you to create more lore or rules. And if someone likes content, they're going to absorb all the lore and rules about it that they can, because they find joy in that. I mean, the whole like info dump in New Hope was just like info dump, but that created 4 main characters that ended up getting their own spin-offs and stuff like that. We ended up getting like Mon Mothma, Wedge Antilles, all these other dudes just from this one scene. They're like, no, they're all characters with their own book series now. But I mean,
and my favorite character, General Akbar.
Yes,
it's a trap.
Yes, but with like showing Xavier doing his whole hand thing, and Jean Grey doing the same thing, and they then were able to, like, when people start pointing out like, well, that's kind of weird. They took that and they're like, well, it's because in the X-Men universe, telepathy is always on. So Xavier taught Jean that doing this allows you to focus it, so it's only going in one direction.
Right.
And so they're able to turn that into more storylines where people's telepathy start going wonky, and they had to like find new ways to focus it. So they're able to create their own problems to expand storylines. Like, so, and people, I like it because it's fun. It's like it's extra. It's stuff on the wiki page I can go look
up. Speaking of stuff on the wiki page, you go look up. I think I was talking to somebody. I think we need to. This is not something we're doing like tomorrow, but I think one of the things we need to start looking to do in our books is the QR codes. So as you're reading, something, and there's a little QR code in the panel, and then you can scan that QR code, and it'll take you to a page that gives you more information about that.
That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like the little captions they used to have in comics that I haven't seen in
Find
years.
out more in X-Men number 331. Yeah.
See.
So you both noticed the bottoms that we do, right? Yeah. I love those. I picked up in the cheap boxes a Marvel book the other day that had those in it. I'm like, look, these are so cool.
Yes. QR codes are as someone who like does marketing as like their day job. Which, by the way, if you're a writer and you're looking for a cushy day job, go into marketing. I spent all day.
Good, huh?
I spent all day in my sweats. I have the WordPress like dashboard burned into my brain now, but just have Twitch up in one window. I'm just typing coffee and accoutrement nonstop, just in my sweats all day. It's great. But QR codes as a tool for expanding universes, like or even just for marketing tools, that the encyclopedia was great for collectors back in the day, and you still have value in that in collectors. You're like I want to get all of the additional material thrown at me all at once, but with comics being such a long tail medium, unless you're doing like your hard set, this is one book and this is it. The ability of immediate access, it does so much to the expanded universe, does so much for that immediate sense of getting people in the door. Because that's the biggest complaint I hear from people is like, well, I don't want to have to read like all 80 years of comics. And you're getting like, well, you don't. You just pick up an issue and it'll eventually explain itself down the line.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff you can do with those too. Those QR codes. I mean, you can have one on the front cover, inside cover, and have them go to it and have it go to like a soundtrack that you could listen to.
Yes.
With the book.
I so want to do that sometime.
Yes.
So
it's a great thing is we don't even need to license music. We can create a Spotify playlist.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are easy to do.
Yeah.
You guys may not remember, but we actually do have a Silverline Spotify playlist from our Christmas music. Yeah.
Yeah. We also have one for the Wednesday Web back in the day. We created a Silverline Writers playlist where like it's all writing music.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. You guys need to get that to BJ so she can social media that out again.
I have to find out. I think Sid was the one who created that, so I have to figure out where that went.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, those are so do you guys, I don't know those guys, you guys, do you remember Power Records at all? Power Records presents.
I feel like there's like a infomercial rattling around in the back of my subconscious somewhere, but
so I'll dig up a link. But so Power Records I had as a kid. What they would do is they literally they read the comic with actors and some limited sound effects.
Yes.
So I remember one of them that's seared into my brain is Captain America and the Falcon, and I think it's from issue number 178. I'll Google it real quick after I tell my story. But it's Captain America and the Falcon, and so you buy it, and it's a book and record, right? So you put the record on and you open it, and then it says, Power Records presents Captain America and the Falcon, and then a narrator comes on and reads this day in the city, Captain America and the Falcon. Hey Cap, what's going on? Right, and it was Sam Wilson, right? Very 1970s, black voice.
If we do it, I want to audition. I want to audition to do some voice acting.
You remember when we did the not quite bad lip reading, but we did Masterpiece Theater, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of along those lines. I think it would be so cool to have a link like that, or maybe a QR code, like you mentioned, Quentin, and then have a reader be able to go and have us do a Power Records thing for them,
right?
Maybe
that would be awesome.
Or even do a behind the scenes kind of thing,
right? I think you
can have a little caption in there and just said, "This is what the artist was listening to when he drew the artwork."
Yep. Yeah.
So the Star Trek one, Neil Adams, perfect.
Yeah, Neil Adams also did the Frankenstein, werewolf, and Dracula one.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, I think we kind of yes. I think as we get more issues under the belt, like even like with Cat and Mouse being, it is a new run, but you have room to reference stuff from like the OG, where it'd be kind of fun to in the top corner be like, instead of like the find out more, is like find out more here with the QR code, and then it just either links to the issue or to the like excerpt of giving you the context you need.
Yeah. And see, that would be so depending on what the context is, but that would be so easy to do. I think we got to start playing with that a little bit
here. Yeah.
No. Great. All right.
Sorry, I got in a sidetrack. You didn't.
Yeah, that's fine. So, talking about our own experiences with telepathy or mental powers in some aspect. So, Roland, have you had to write or edit characters with telepathy or any sort of mental, higher mental faculties or invisible powers that you then had to figure out how you're going to translate that to a visual medium?
And how would you depict that to the artist? Would you be like, do whatever you want here, however you want to show it, or would you like be specific? Like, hey, I want some.
I think I would be. Okay. So the first question first. I do not recall ever having to edit a character with telepathic powers at all. I know there wasn't a protector that was that way, and I don't remember any of the Ultraverse characters having that. So I'm going to say no on that. As for would I be specific to the artist? I think yes. I think that might be one of those things where I would, if it's something new, I would probably have a conversation, and could just be an email conversation with the artist and say, okay, look, this character's got telepathy. Do we want to do the Professor X thing, or how do we want to do it? Because if we're going to do it differently, we have to make sure that me and the artist are on the same page. Now, if it's one of those cases where I don't know who's going to be drawing it, then I would probably default to, hey, Professor X, does this kind of thing. Here's a couple of panels. Let's do this here because this character is going to do a telepathic message. Maybe having do a Ditko thing. I don't know. Yeah, I think I would be specific though.
No, I didn't mention this in earlier in my answer, but I already know that the Tenacious D reference is too good for me. Just the brain bullets Kyle or mind bullets Kyle line is just too good. So, and I love the idea of hex tech or combining technology and magic or powers or what have you. So this character would probably fit into my next idea, which is going to be some sort of gunslinger type character. And of course, you have the classic action movie trope of the opponent is too strong and disarms their gun, rips all the bullets out before they can fire it. But then just cut to the protagonist shooting out a bolt of purple energy or whatever, and then it's kind of like brain bullets.
Yep.
I don't need a gun when I got mind bullets.
Right.
Yep.
The thing about it is, you think about Professor X from. This is from the 1960s, right? And I can't think of any characters I'm sure someone else can think of something, but I can't think of any characters pre Professor X that in comics that did that. Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of been one of those. So I think if we were going, what I was going to say is that we can do so much with comics now. With our technology, just in even independent comics with our print on demand, you can do something with color to say, hey, definitely.
And I am all about that. Using color for some of these effects instead of trying to ink some of that stuff, because the ink just doesn't come through like you can do with colors.
Yeah. Well, color and lighting. I mentioned lighting earlier. I think that those are two of my favorite ways to show anything non-physical happening.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, the challenge for a comic writer is to how do you communicate that to your the artist,
and for an artist too, and all the working parts to be able to say to the inker and then to the colorist, hey, I kind of want it to be like this, So I'm going to leave this space open for you to do like an effect.
Yes. Well, of course, I'm referring back to this panel, but I think literally the description for the sepia one, I think literally before I even described anything, it was just all in bold. Was there sepia tone? This isn't real. He's having a vision of a potential future. He's putting together a puzzle. This is him thinking.
Yeah. Of course, back in the day, the artist would just write, a little note on it to the penciler would write a note to the inker. And of course the inker would just, ink over that. Yeah. And then maybe they would leave little notes here for the colorist as well. So they would write all of their notes on the actual paper because it went from one to the, to the next person. So.
Maybe I'll start doing that in some light ink.
Well, put it on a layer, right? This is the thing about digital. Put it on. So I had some notes for Barb, in one of the remix stuff we were doing, because we're trying to digital remaster some of that, and so I literally just wrote, I created a different layer and wrote notes on the layer. So when Barb got the file, all she had to do was delete that layer once she was done.
Mm-hmm.
But she had those notes, and she couldn't look at the page because I wrote it in, because she was coloring, right? And so the page was black and white, and I wrote my notes in big red ink on the layer, so she couldn't miss it, right?
Yep. Right.
So you can still do something like that digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Going
to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, everybody, I can't wait to get to Daytona Beach Comic Con, September 9th through the 11th. I'm going to be there. Tim's going to be there. Roland's going to be there. And what do we got now? What's the
Can't wait to see you guys.
12? A dozen?
I think there's a dozen of us.
Yes.
Mark Spears is going to be there. Cassisi's going to be there, right, Mark? Right, Cassisi? Yeah.
That would be cool.
Right.
I think Cassisi lives. I'm not sure where Mark Spears lives, but I think Cassisi lives way out by Tim.
He's over by me. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're over here in the.
Well, maybe if he's short enough, you can put him in your suitcase, Tim.
Yes. Or maybe depending, same weekend, Cassisi might be able to make it down to Rose City Comic Con to see Aaron.
Aaron will be there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's.
You're within range. I'm coming from Texas, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah, it's spitting distance.
I'm from Oregon. That's a power loogie.
Yeah.
I'm from southern Mississippi, so North Alabama is well, you probably don't want to say.
Yeah. Well, you know what they call the southern part of Alabama, right? You ever hear anybody in Alabama say they're going to LA?
Huh?
They're going to Lower Alabama.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I'm sure Mark's heard that, right? I'm going to LA.
Yes, that's where. Yeah, people even look at me over here. It's since I moved over here. I mean, I was expecting cowboys and stuff, and what we got is a lot of northern talking cowboy hat wearing people. Not talking bad about any of them or anything, but man, as soon as I opened my mouth, they were like, "Where are you from?"
Or as my great aunt used to call them, "Damn Yankees."
Yeah.
I'm excited to see you guys. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Been swapping messages with Tommy, trying to figure out now that we've kind of collected up all the airplanes coming in and out and that kind of thing, trying to get all of that arranged. The limo service is arranged.
Perfect. Yeah, my flight got delayed, so I'm coming in late, and I'm like, I'm gonna be sleepy.
Yeah, right. Well, I think Quentin gets the award for the most the awkwardest flight schedule.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
he's coming in at like midnight before the show.
Yeah, that sounds like.
I'll wake up. Tommy will come get me, and then I'm gonna probably stay over by his place. He's got me a cot set up outside.
Yeah. Outside with the dog.
Yeah.
I think at least flying this way, it's nice because you're going 3 hours into the future, so you're not actually like. So for me, I'm flying 6, but now it'll probably be 9 hours later by the time I get there.
Yeah,
it's the flying back that sucks because I'll fly for 6 hours and then only be like a 3 or 2 hour difference, depending.
The crazy thing is, if I were to drive 4 hours to Dallas, then from Dallas there is, I think it's less than 4 hours, and they don't stop. They go straight to the airport. But I'm flying out of my city, so they're going to go to Dallas, stop there, and then stop somewhere else, and then, so.
I don't think I'm going to group this size.
No, I would love to, and I'll be honest with you, I would love to do something now. So please don't misinterpret this as any disparaging thoughts toward Daytona. Daytona is a great show. They are very good to us. But we're way down here. we're way far away from everything. I would like to find something in maybe Memphis or St. Louis, something that's kind of more centrally located to in the U.S. And it would be neat to have some kind of home convention there as well. That more could. It's an easier flight for Tim and Quentin both.
Get all of your friends and family that live out in LA to buy one of our comics and then send it to all their friends. Eventually someone will option it, and then we get invited to San Diego as a company.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if we will, Mr. Mark, but maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
This is September. I don't know of anything that's coming down the pike planned, but who knows what could happen.
No. Yeah, I've got a couple more shows, but nothing like this. Daytona is literally and it has been for 3 occurrences of Daytona now, is the biggest collection of Silverliners during the year.
Yep.
So thank you, Daytona Beach Comic Con.
Yes. So that's mostly due to their generosity and unwillingness to give us their show floor.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yes. Are we expecting? We also have. I don't know if it's been announced yet or anything, but I believe also we might have some panels or some talks set up. That I think I heard rumors that Scott and I might be doing something.
You will. Yep.
Yes.
I don't have a schedule for that yet, so I don't know when that's going to happen. But the 2 of you are going to be on a panel. You are going to be on Nashville. Yeah.
That's really good.
I did a wizard show in Nashville in 2017, I think. So I know the guy I know Mark Ballard, who runs Nashville show. He tried to invite me recently, but I can't remember why I couldn't go. I had another arrangement.
I think that depends on the con, because I think technically that'd be their IP, their content. I don't know. If it's their panel.
Oh, you're talking about the panel? So here, I do know this, that they are planning to either stream and or record the panel.
Okay, cool.
So if
I think he's asking about us streaming straight up.
I might be streaming to my.
You know how OCD did with y'all? I went back and watched those. They were awesome.
Yeah,
I might go back and stream from my Twitch, because I can do it straight from my phone. So I might be my personal Twitch.
That would be cool. Yeah. I would say that you'll probably, because there's enough of us there, you'll probably find a gaggle. I almost always try to do a live.
I know, Roland. You usually do like a thing on Facebook. You put some videos out.
Yeah. BJ says I never take enough time. But part of it is because I'm just like, here we are. Bye.
Yeah. You're talking to people though.
Yeah. So last year, Dante was there, and I told Dante, I said, "Here's my phone. Start with me. I'm going to leave, and you can just talk to everybody else that you want to for as long as you want."
Yes.
And so I left. I was able to get the stream started, and he went on for a few minutes and talked to several folks.
Yes.
So I might try to recruit somebody to do that this year.
Before future conventions, there's a company that does what are called IRL packs, and so it's backpacks for IRL streaming. So they come with like mounts for your phone camera and like a portable lighting rig and all that, and stuff. Like you can throw this like chargers and cables in the back and all that stuff. So it has the inbuilt like USB port to a portable battery to charge your camera and stuff into. So I think it'd be kind of fun to do something like that, where you actually do like the actual walk around the convention stream without it being a super shaky phone camera.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned OCD. OCD will be there, and so we'll probably do another round of interviews.
I can't wait to meet him.
Yeah,
I love watching him and his wife. Oh my goodness, they're hilarious.
They really are. So when you guys talk to him, just remember this: if you want to stay in his good graces, he likes to give me a hard time. So So
I know.
When you talk to him, make sure you do that. I gotta see if I can.
So we should berate you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Him? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
pretty much. Of course, he's always, you guys know this, you've probably seen, they are absolutely supporters of Silverline. They I don't know that they started at the very beginning, but from the point that they started, they backed all of our Kickstarters a lot of times in a big way. He gets a lot of art. He has a lot of Silverline art. So yeah, we love OCD, not just because they're one of our sponsors, but they do support us in a big way. So hopefully I can get they're doing what they did at Infinity, and we'll get you guys to sit down and chat with them.
Nice.
His favorite character is Punisher, isn't it? Is it not?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I watched an old show of his, and I think I heard him say that. I want to make sure with you. Maybe we'll have to do something up for him.
He's got a Punisher truck, and so he's got this big black pickup that has a huge Punisher logo on the hood.
Huh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and he just calls it his. And I want to say Chuck Dixon signed it. I want to say he had Chuck Dixon sign his.
He did.
hood.
I remember that in the stream. Him
Okay.
Yeah.
But they will absolutely be there, whether they're and they're going to be the ones that will be streaming / recording the panel, Tim.
Okay.
Whether they're doing the interviews there or not, I don't know that yet. But I'll matter of fact, I'll open up a window right now.
For those who don't know, that's OCD Orlando Collector Deviants. You can find them on Facebook. They have their own YouTube channel as well. Great folks, promoters, very big promoters of not just us, but different people as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And just all around funny. I mean, they've got the humor of ribbing each other, which I was raised on. Oh my goodness, you couldn't be sensitive in my family. Yeah, and they're the same way. Southern people.
Yep.
The kind of people that get canceled out in the real world.
Salt of the earth, folks.
Yep. Do anything for you. Help you out.
Well, and the cool thing is, when they first started, they have a son and daughter. When they first started, it was very much a family. They went as a family, and they participated as a family. Well, their kids are they're older now, but I want to say their daughter works for Daytona. She'll be there, but not with OCD. She'll be there as one of the workers at the convention.
Yeah.
So
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah,
Yes.
I can't wait to see meet in person Tim and Pete and Roland.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, we'll actually be able to see each other at standing height for the first time.
Right?
You'll be looking over me a bit. I'm 5'4", so
Quinn, I told BJ this the other day because I heard you say this on one of the other streams, and I said Quentin is 5'4".
Yep.
and she said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, I never would have guessed that from the streams, but you know, Tommy's 6'4", I'm 6'3", so
yeah, I'm wide."
Yeah, wide.
Yeah,
but you're not as wide as you were.
Oh, I am not nearly as wide as I used to be, but
yes, which is fantastic.
Yeah, well, it is.
I still have a fat brain, though.
Exactly.
I still, I've lost 100 pounds since last September, so I still have the fat brain working. Like I don't. I'm not being derogatory. I mean, I was overweight, way overweight.
I got a fat brain, PHAT.
Yes, many wrinkles.
That's right.
Got that wrinkle brain. All right. Well, it's been it is. Yeah. Quinn's been putting in the work.
We're proud of Quentin.
Yes.
Done good.
Yes. When he gets to when we're in the hotel, I'll meet up with him in the morning for the workout before he go to the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
So bring your workout clothes, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Alrighty. Well, we're gonna show our socials there at the bottom. Has been an hour and a half. Ron joined us for the last half hour there. You can follow us all at those socials down there. And we'll be probably streaming Daytona Beach from my personal Twitch, which is Tim TK Writer, like anything else now. I managed to get that changed. I'll also be streaming my NFL fantasy draft this Friday if anyone's interested. But does anyone else have any? Roland, you need to plug your socials since they're not on there. And does anyone else have anything? Anyone have anything else coming up besides Daytona Beach?
No, you can find me. You can find me at Rolling Man Rolling on all the social media places. Look for my caricature. I need to put a card up here so I can show it. Nice. Those who thank you, CC. Good to see you.
Good night, everybody.
Those
glad
who
y'all came in, Mark, CC. Thank you for being with us and talking with us.
The those who backed the Trumps and Switchblade and what was the other one? Team Beetle, Kickstarter. Those books are in my hands now, so I hope to. There won't be anything going out tomorrow because I had too much class. I had too much day job stuff to take care of.
Yeah,
but hopefully those will get a big chunk of those out in the mail on Thursday and Friday. So y'all start looking for those.
Quentin Bedwell, Quentin J. Bedwell, Facebook, Instagram, Tuesday nights right here with Master Tim TK, the wordsmith. And that's about it. You can find me at home in my office 12 hours a day riding a lazy boy chair.
Sure. You need to name it like a horse.
I'm going to. Maybe I should take votes on what to name it.
There you go.
Put that part of Kickstarter, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. It's going to be named Chair McChairface, though. 100%. That's what people are going to call it.
Chair McChairface.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll see you all next week. Be sure to check in at 8 p.m. Eastern on this channel for Wednesday and Sunday shows, Wednesday Wham and Silver Sunday. We will be back. We will be back next week. And then I'm not sure about Sunday. Probably not. I'm not sure
you
about
will attend. You will attend.
Yes. Yes. All right. But until that time, remember to
make mine Silverline.
All right. Good show, everybody. All right. Quentin.
Don't forget.
Hi, my name is Sergio Cariello, and make mine Silverline.